What's going on, guys? Sky Pirate Actual. So this video is going to be on obviously the multi-tools that we have here, their use case, and obviously something I've seen a little bit lately is people kind of being upset about the performance of certain tools, but then using them well outside their intended scope. All right, so we'll start over here. So obviously we have the Leatherman T4. So obviously this has the free technology, which means you can operate it with one hand, which I'm a huge fan of. Their free T4, I do carry it for EDC along with the Leatherman Arc. Some stuff on here is a little bit redundant. So you have a two-sided file with a little flathead tip on the top, which I've used the file at work extensively. I am a infantryman by trade, but I work as a foreign weapons instructor right now. So working with Soviet, European, pretty much any non-US standard weapons. So when you get burrs on weapons, a file is needed in order to remove the burr. So I run into that a lot. Then you have your flathead / package opener. It has a little beveled, sharpened edge here for cutting packages open. Flathead is obviously useful. You have your knife, which is in, I think, 420 high carbon. Works perfectly fine. You do have to sharpen it every now and then. Opposite side, always appreciated, is a pair of scissors. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward on the scissors. They do cut. I'll have a little demonstration for the Surge in the Leatherman Arc at the end of the video. You have an awl here with your sewing hole, and it is beveled here as well. Has a slightly sharper edge at the bottom, and it comes down to kind of a fine flathead tip. And then lastly, well, actually not lastly, we have one more thing, but we have a Phillips head here with a combination bottle cap opener. And obviously everything, in order to disengage it, just push back on this lever here and you can disengage whatever tool you have deployed. One of the things I really enjoy about this, and I never thought I would be the tiny little set of tweezers in here. I've used these more than I realized I ever thought I would, but those are definitely appreciated. So just kind of meant for your regular everyday kind of EDC tasks that you can run into depending on obviously what your line of work is. Then we're going to go ahead and move over to the Leatherman Arc. Once again, operates off of the free series technology. I like this thing a lot. The price point was a little bit high, but obviously I got the discount since I am a soldier, so the price came down to about 160, I think it was 165 or 167. But the huge hype about this is obviously the Magna Cut blade, which I haven't used extensively just yet because I have a main knife for most of my cutting task. And then over here, obviously we have a pair of scissors. We already talked about that. I always appreciate a set of scissors on hand. Something that was a little bit strange about this awl that they put on here is that they removed the sewing hole, and then it has a pretty sharp tip on here, slight edge. So I'm not really sure why they removed the sewing hole. Maybe it was a labor thing, but it didn't really make sense of why they have it on others but then removed it on here. So I'm not really sure what the point of that was. This right here, probably the most useless thing, at least to me. One, I don't wear glasses, and then two, I don't think it needs to be on a multi-tool. I've seen this on the Charge TTI, and it might be on the Surge. I'll check for that for in a second. But I don't see a use for this on a multi-tool, especially one with the price tag that it comes with. I personally would remove this and put maybe an exchangeable bit holder or even the T-shank. The T-shank would be absolutely money on this thing. And I'm actually kind of upset that they didn't put it on here. The T-shank should have been one of the first things that went on this, given the price tag. And then obviously we have a pry bar / flathead combination bottle opener. I have used the pry bar. You can see a little bit of marring on there, but I used it to pry a FNFAL part about 2 weeks ago. This is a fairly new tool. I think I've had it less than a month, but I've already put some work on it. Then you have a file with a diamond, fine diamond sharpening tool on the other side. Once again, I'm a maintainer and an armorer, so I do utilize the file quite a bit. So very important that I have this on here, so I'm actually super stoked that they have this on here. Other side, we have a saw. So I have a cutting demonstration with the saw and also the pliers at the end of the video. I've always appreciated the saw. Do I think it's necessary on every single multi-tool? I don't think so. I think some people would enjoy some other tools on their Leathermans, but for me personally, been to Iraq twice, been to numerous training rotations, JRTC, CTC rotations, and building fighting positions and concealing them via cutting down trees, branches, obviously from a far out different area, so as to not disturb the area that you're operating in, because that could be a sign that someone's in that area. But the saw has gotten a lot of use. This obviously I used my Leatherman MUT, which has a much beefier saw on there, like super stout saw, and I have used the crap out of this on deployment and on training rotations. So I think on some of the multi-tools, you can even say most of them, sure, it's okay to have on there, but I don't think it needs to be on everything. But they're completely okay with putting it on everything. Obviously you have the bit holder here with their proprietary bits. It does come with a singular sleeve of bits that it came with, and obviously the carrying sheath as well, which these are perfect, honestly. I wish they had a different bit holder that took at least 1/4-inch bits. I know you can mod it to use it, but I would prefer it came with that. Once again, considering the price tag. I've been using Leatherman for a extremely long time, so like this is my old bit holder. I bought 3 of them because they get lost pretty often, so I'm obviously running around through the woods and everything. Then you have a bottle opener, which they kind of changed the design of, and it's kind of a combo bottle opener as well. I really haven't used this, and I've done I've done a lot of hiking in the military and otherwise. I've never really had to use it, so I mean, yeah, not much use from me on that end. Let's see, I guess we can go ahead and open this up now. So free tech, you can open it with hand. I'm not going to use it one hand right now. All right, so we have their patented plier head here with your removable wire cutters. I've heard an enormous amount of flack from the Reddit community and every other community on the quality of these. I utilized this in a cut test, which is going to be posted at the end of the video once again. For me, people were cutting wire hangers kind of like out the gate. I know this can make it through wire hanger without any issue. And they are replaceable, but once again, given the price tag, people's gripes are pretty founded. If I'm gonna have, these are gonna come with wire cutters, I expect them not to shatter on first or second or third use. So I don't think people's gripes are completely unfounded, but at the same time, I would say to manage your expectations. So anytime you have a tool that does multiple things, kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, you have to manage the expectations, because this is not going to do everything, right? Excuse me, I won't say it won't do everything, but it won't do everything well. So if you're looking for something a little bit more hard use, the Leatherman Surge is probably what you're going to be looking for. For your everyday kind of EDC task, I would go with the Leatherman Arc. So weight-wise, it isn't too bad. I carry it in my pocket via pocket clip. I've heard people say that their pocket clip sheared off. I don't know what they're doing for their pocket clips to be shearing off, but it could be the weak screws, because those are small screws. So it can happen. So yeah, moving on. So your Leatherman Surge, this thing is money. It is a beefy, thick boy. One thing I wasn't a huge fan of is that it didn't come with a pocket clip, which I wasn't too thrilled with, I'll be honest with you. Once again, for the price tag, I think I paid $140 for this. But for this, it comes with a way beefier set of scissors. The scissors are super appreciated, and they do cut pretty well. So obviously they cut through boxes, they cut through lashings, 550 cord, 1 inch thick green straps, you can cut through toe straps. So it works, and it works really well. You have a beefy knife on here, plain edge, just the way I like it. And I'm pretty sure this is also 440C or 440HC for 440 high carbon. This is where the money is made, right here. You see, you still have some wood shavings from the cut test, and that's the T-shank holder, which you can find other types of saws at like Lowe's, Home Depot, your hardware stores, and they work with the T-shank holder. I cannot be more stoked. This is probably the one singular, probably my favorite part about the Surge, is the fact that you can swap out parts. So if I want to swap it out with the file and the diamond sharpener, you can just swap it out. I think that is the most useful thing, and I'm actually super upset that they didn't have the T-shank holder on the Arc. That should have been the one thing that should have been added on here, and that would have increased in value in my eyes. Then you have your completely serrated blade on here that's got some wear and tear on it. I like that for cutting ropes, straps, seatbelt even. Works really well. So we can go ahead and open it up. Just as a size comparison, I'll go ahead and open up the Arc just so you guys can see how big it is. It's more comparable in size to the Leatherman MUT than any of these other Leathermans. So size comparison between the Arc and the Surge, you can see that the Surge is a fair amount larger than the Arc itself. And then I'll go ahead and move that out of the way and post up the Leatherman MUT. So I believe they're a little bit more comparable in size and weight. So, but I do think that the Leatherman Surge is far more useful than the MUT. But once again, managing those expectations. If it's doing a lot of things, it's probably doing them in a mediocre fashion. So it's not meant to be a main tool. Your multi-tools are really meant to be companion tools to actual task-oriented tools. So, but we'll go back to the Leatherman Surge. Obviously on the inside here, we have some other tools. You have your bit holder, your can opener, which is like the original one, which I actually like a lot better than the new one they started putting up. I actually like this one a lot better. Your bit holder, super standard. And let's see. This is where the free really shines, because I can deploy all this stuff without having to use another tool or my nail, and I don't have long nails in order to deploy those tools. You have your awl with your kind of your chisel ground edge, and then your sewing hole, which I really like. Then you have a small flathead and a larger flathead, which I don't know if they intend that to be a pry bar, but it doesn't have as thick a stock as the one that comes on the Leatherman Arc. So all in all, the Surge is probably the most useful if you're doing some heavier duty oriented task. Me personally, I also had to kind of loosen up the screws up here in order to deploy the knife and the scissors and the serrated knife a little bit easier. Which you do need 2 tamper star bits in order to do it. You have to place one on the opposite side to keep them from rotating at the same time. All right, so the Surge is out the way. Leatherman MUT, I've had it for about 8 years, 2 deployments, and God knows how many training rotations. So comes with a combo knife. You can see the tip's kind of already broken off, and I kind of just pushed it into the blade. Combo, so serrated on the bottom with kind of like 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of plain edge. Me personally, I would much rather just have a separate knife that's completely separate, that's completely serrated, and then just keep the main blade just plain edge. If your plain edge is sharpened well enough, it'll do pretty much everything that your serrated will do. Then, like, this was meant for military usage or, you know, law enforcement. You have a carbon scraper here, brass carbon scraper, which does bend if you put too much force on it. You can see it's been chipped and stuff because it's just been used so much. You have your long bit holder on both sides, and it runs off of this tiny kind of push pin in order to lock them in place and then release them. Then you have your takedown punch. Your takedown punch here is just, it's super simple. Use that to separate your upper and lower receivers, punch out any push pins, and it works. So it's either it works or it doesn't work for this. You can screw it off and screw something else on if you want. Then you have the massive saw that we talked about a little bit earlier. I have used this a ton. When I tell you I've used this a lot, I have built up fighting positions, defensive positions, concealed them, and utilized the saw because obviously in the infantry you're already carrying a lot of weight, especially as light infantry. So having something that can do multiple tasks definitely helps, instead of carrying a main saw or something like that. And if you are carrying a main saw, obviously there's 30 other guys that are doing the same exact task. But you're already carrying 90 pounds plus of equipment in your ruck, and a saw is just not something I'm looking to bring extra of. If anything, I would carry a slightly larger shovel, even though I have an E-tool, in order to help with digging task. Then you have your bit holder here on the side. It can be for the short or long end. And then you have a multitude of tools that you can also fit in order to clean your weapons. So on the side of your plier jaw, you can actually screw in bits in order to utilize it for cleaning weapons. So you can screw on a cleaning brush, you can use it to scrape carbon with your brass brush. You have a little flathead tip here. So you can, I've never utilized it for that. I have a cleaning kit for a reason. So this just the most I've used it for is the takedown pins, because obviously when you're out in the field, things get dirty, sandy, and then the carbon scraper. But it's a novel idea, but I think they probably need someone in-house that actually has experience with this stuff, and they could have better constructed this tool, in my opinion. Pocket clip, self-explanatory. Bottle opener here / carabiner. I'll be honest, I've never used the carabiner. I'll just throw it in my pocket if anything. And then you have a strap cutter / seatbelt cutter, which once again I've also never used, because we get issued those. So an actual dedicated seatbelt cutter that I know will work exactly the first time. But it is nice to have on the side. But me personally, when I go to grip it, I don't want my hand coming anywhere near these razor blades down here. So another thing you can do is you can flip open this little lever here. You can lock the Leatherman in place so that it doesn't open up on you. So that's a neat little tool in order to keep that closed. Then on the bottom you have kind of their proprietary hammerhead, and once again I can't think of a time where I've actually needed to utilize the hammerhead portion on this. I would much rather use a rock or something, mainly because I don't want my hand anywhere near, say, a nail or something that I'm nailing, and I don't need that slipping or me missing and puncturing my hand for whatever reason. If you are going to do that, be sure to utilize gloves. Otherwise, I would recommend you not do that. So once again, novel idea, but I think they need someone in-house that has a little bit better insight into what, you know, the combat MOSs do in the field to better orient them on how to utilize this tool. Maybe make them more customizable so you can swap this stuff out without voiding the warranty, which I am also not a huge fan of. Moving on. So now we have the Leatherman Charge TTI. Pretty much the only difference on this are the blade choices. So you have the S30V plain edge blade on here, which I'm a huge fan of S30V. It is a tried and true steel. A little bit harder to sharpen, but once the edge is on there, the edge retention is actually pretty good. As far as rust and corrosion resistance, there is a little bit of rust on there right now, but rust for the most part is super easy to buff out with CLP or another maintenance oil. And then I actually found it broken off, sheared, the fish head hook kind of sheared off already. Probably some private that was utilizing it and just trying to pry things open and snapped it off. So I kind of just beveled it, gave it a sharper point, so if I need to stab something, maybe into wood to cut rope or something, then that's what I put it on there for. Let's see, then you have your saw on here, so there's a little notch down here to pull it out. Once again, not going to poo-poo on a saw, but I don't think it's necessary for every single Leatherman to have, but I don't mind it. Then we have our file along with our sharpening, our kind of fine diamond sharpening. It's got a little bit of oil on it because I just used it pretty recently. So it's good for keeping a pretty decent edge on your knives in the field. So I enjoy having a file and a diamond edge on my multi-tool personally. Super huge fan. A little bit of a difference with these is going to be that on here, on your Charge TTI, instead of having removable wire cutters, they are fixed on this one. So that is an interesting choice. I would hope, I haven't even really tried these out because I have actual dedicated tools for cutting wires and things like that in the field. So Knipex Cobalts, I have 3 versions of the Cobalt series. I have the 6-inch or 6.5 inch, 8-inch, and 10-inch. 6 is good for cutting everything up to soft hard wire, some really smaller chains, fencing. It works well with, but your 8 and 10-inch are where those are going to shine. I have cut C-wire with the 8-inch and 10-inch. I may put that in the video as well, just for y'all's viewing pleasure. The biggest thing for me is for the Knipex Cobalt is that the edge on these things lasts forever. I've cut through so much. I've cut through nails, chain. Man, I've cut through literally everything with this stuff, and the blade is still perfect. There's like no chips on it. I have no idea. So German engineering, man, seriously, Knipex is a firm go-to. I will always recommend them to anyone doing work in the field. So back to the Charge TTI. Slightly different plier head on here. Not really sure what the hole is for. I haven't researched it either, so don't shoot me up too bad in the comments over it. Let's go ahead to the inside tools. I'm gonna grab this flathead. Once again, the free series is where this thing makes their money. Because you can deploy it with one hand. So I think this is more so of a flathead, and could possibly use that for a pry bar as well, given how wide it is, and the base is actually a little thicker to facilitate that prying action. Once again, another useless tool on here. It's going to be that eyeglass, or that precision driver set on there. Once again, they could have put a T-shank on there, and this thing would be 10 times more valuable. And then you have your scissors down here. The scissors work. The handle's a little bit different on these, which I'm not a huge fan of, but they do work. I can deal with discomfort with cutting things, so that part doesn't bug me too much, but I know it bugs a lot of other people. So go ahead and put that back in, and then go to the other side. Have your bit holder with the proprietary bit, and then a can opener here, which they don't even have a actual thumb choil here. There's just, you need some nails in order to deploy this. So so yeah, can opener slash bottle opener. Cool. Yeah, I've had this thing for about as long as I've had the MUT, so about 7 to 8 years. I've been performing pretty faithfully. So then we have lastly the Leatherman Signal, which is kind of a interesting spin-off for this brand. Combo edge with the topo overlay on there, which I enjoy. It makes it look really pretty, very aesthetic. I think this is also 440 high carbon. Has a little sharpener on here, which is a little bit too small for my liking. I'd rather them have just had an actual dedicated flip open diamond edge on there for the knife. And then obviously this is kind of meant for survival slash hiking. So you have a saw on here with a particularly flat spine, and that's going to be to utilize it with your ferro rod, which is integrated inside the actual slide itself. Then on the inside, flipping it open here, on the other side of your ferro rod, you have a whistle on here. So you'd have to just pull back on that little clip right there, and it would get pushed right through. And then you have yourself a whistle. The whistle is underrated in my opinion. There are so many situations survival-wise where you could need a whistle. So I'm a firm believer that this is a solid sustain for this series of tool. In order to, okay, so we'll get to the stuff that I don't like about this. So this bit holder down here, you can utilize 1/4" bits. I have a couple in here right now. So what I don't like is that there is no retention for this stuff. So some people have done some mods in order to keep the bits in place, but why the absolute hell would you put it on that side? This is why I say you could have gotten rid of the bit holder, their proprietary bit holder, and just put a standard bit holder on there instead of doing this nonsense. Because look at all of this extra play, it just slides out. There's no retention for this. Hard pass on that. So I was actually kind of flabbergasted at that. I was actually really upset about this because I think this was just someone threw this together at the last minute and tried to make it stick. We see it. It's trash. That could just be removed completely. Find something else to put on there. Once again, another unneeded kind of carabiner clip / bottle opener on there. Sure, if you want to use it, use it. If you want to lash it to your backpack. For hiking and stuff like that, I can understand. Then you have a pocket clip on here. I'm always going to utilize a pocket clip over the carabiner. And you have your hammer down here. I spoke earlier about why that's a bad idea of hammering with this. I'm personally never going to do that. Then you have obviously your patented plier head with your removable cutters, wire cutters. Now there is a space down here. Some people said that's a wire stripper. That goes against what Leatherman themselves actually says. So that is not a wire stripping function. It can be used like that, but that is not what it is meant for. So I haven't tested the strength of this just yet, which maybe I will in the future. But this is already turning out to be an extremely long video. I'll put the cutting videos towards the end. Yeah, Leatherman Signal is cool. Besides those very glaring issues, it is very minimalistic. I think there's a couple other things they could have put on there to make this a little bit better. But that is it for this extremely long video. We're at 27 minutes, so I'll go ahead and put those cutting videos towards the end there. If you want, go ahead and like and subscribe. If not, not a big deal. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Sky Pirate Actual, and I'm out.